When you take a look what he's achieved, 9 titles for Real Madrid. Oh, this is just Real Madrid. 9 Intercontinental Cup titles then for Real Madrid. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we, Alex Kirkland. Now, Alex, there are some gentlemen alongside me who don't care at all about this game, this result, this trophy, but it's fair to say that Real Madrid very much do.
Yeah, I think it's helpful, really helpful for Real Madrid with the season they're having to be able to say, look, so far, yes, we haven't been playing particularly well, but we've won 2 trophies already. Intercontinental Cup, they won the UEFA Super Cup, of course, at the start of the season, and there are more potentially to come. The next one in January, the Spanish Super Cup. So like I say, given the fact that it hasn't been a great season so far, they're still there or thereabouts, near the top of La Liga, and they've got 2 trophies in the bag. I think Madrid are always on a bit of a hiding to nothing with games like this in these tournaments because they're expected to win. If they win, everyone kind of shrugs and thinks, well, yeah, of course you were going to win. You're by far the strongest team. If they don't win, it's a disaster. But still, they got the job done. They started a little bit slowly. They sort of grew into the game. And as you say, once they went ahead, certainly by the time they were 2-0 up, there was never any doubt about the result. But I think it's helpful, especially for someone like Mbappe as well. Again, a lot of criticism's gone his way this season. But still, he scored in this final. He scored in the UEFA Super Cup final. He scored quite a few goals in the league, despite all the criticism about his form. So helpful for him, for sort of the narrative around him, to be winning trophies and scoring goals in finals, even if it isn't the biggest final. And Madrid will be hoping there'll be much bigger games to come later on this season.
What about those fans from the outside looking in, Alex, going, oi, as a supporter, I will care about La Liga and I care about the Champions League. So why aren't you playing your strongest 11 against Rayo Vallecano, where you drop points in what's going to be a very close title race? And why are you fielding such a strong side in this tie, which really you should win even without the likes of Mbappe?
Well, it's a final. Like I say, Real Madrid are all about finals and they're all about trophies. I think if he picked a weakened team in this game and they didn't win, he would get absolutely, torn apart by the press and by the fans and everybody else. It just wouldn't be acceptable. And there's no way you'll never see Real Madrid playing a final, a trophy, whatever the final, and picking a weakened team and not going all out for the win. And of course, you've got the Christmas break coming up, so there'll be time to rest then. There'll be time to rest players over Christmas. When the Copa del Rey comes around, they can play a B team. But in games like this, a high-profile game, albeit, yes, it's far from the biggest trophy of the season, but it's a trophy, and it's the champions of Europe going up against with the other teams that made it through, particularly in the end from Mexico, but for a trophy. And there's no way that Madrid would ever pick a weakened team for a game like this. And that's why Mbappe played, despite the fact we weren't sure if he would, because he was injured last week. We thought he'd be out for 10 days. He's back in less than that. He's back in a week, started the game, played for an hour. So I think that tells you how seriously they take this competition, this game.
Another trophy, as I mentioned, for Carlo Ancelotti. Is it fair to say he's the greatest Real Madrid manager ever, Alex?
He's won the most trophies. I mean, Miguel Muñoz was the other one, the one he's just overtaken with this one. He's got 15 now to Muñoz's 40. Muñoz was there for a lot longer. I think it was something like 14 years that Muñoz was there. Ancelotti, of course, 2 spells, 2 years the first time. This time he's been there since 2021. But yeah, he's won the most trophies of any coach. Madrid, I think they're not really a club that traditionally has been associated with kind of coaches. It's been more about the presidents, Santiago Bernabeu, more recently Florentino Perez, and the star players, Alfredo Di Stefano, Cristiano Ronaldo. And the coaches have often kind of been not the biggest names, and they've often been sort of hired and fired, and they've come and gone over the years. But yeah, I think Ancelotti has a very good case now. Certainly, I mean, he's won the most trophies. Is he the most influential coach in Madrid's history? That's a more difficult question, because you'd have to look at maybe the coaches that were there when the club was sort of building its reputation back in the 60s when they won 5 European Cups in a row, and you could go through sort of the 90s and the 2000s. But yeah, in terms of trophies won, and the fact he's been there twice, he was there the first time, great first season, tough second season, got sacked. They brought him back almost by accident. When he came in 2021, he wasn't the plan. He wasn't the first choice. It sort of happened. And no one expected it. Even him and even the club didn't expect it. It happened, and he's come back. I mean, look at what he's done since he come back. He's won 2 doubles in 3 years, and here he is. He's still there. Yes, he gets some stick. Yes, there are some frustrations about aspects of his management in terms of maybe being a little bit conservative at times and sticking with the big names and not liking to rotate. But despite all that, he keeps winning trophies. And the players, you hear them talking after the game today, they do love him and they love playing for him.
Yeah, and obviously when you take a look at the trophies he's won, this isn't particularly high on the list.
Are you going to say that? Are we going to hear that word trophy again?
What do you mean?
Trophy, 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 trophy.
Well, he's won more trophies than any other manager, and I think that's.
But
this is where I'm taking this to the fact that to do what he's done at Real Madrid under the pressure that he's been under, because every manager's under a lot of pressure going into a big club like this, is something special.
Out with these kind of cups.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, what we would consider proper.
Yes, Champions League, La Ligas. You look at
proper competitions, elite level.
Yeah.
This is not elite level, Pachuca. Yeah, magnificent. Just his whole sort of demeanour and how he handles the adversity that Alex mentioned. He has had a fair amount of stick, but he sort of soldiers on through it with a kind of smile and brushes it off sort of attitude. And I think the players like that. So it's undeniable that, not just in Madrid, but all the other clubs he's been at pretty much, he's been so successful. I mean, apart from that spell at Everton on Merseyside, what the hell?
How much sleep does he lose over that?
What the hell? Yeah. He called himself an Evertonian the other day, I heard, when he was talking to somebody in an interview. But, yeah, he's the kind of guy I think would all have, when we were playing, gone, I would like to play for him.
And I think what I imagine from a player's perspective is that there's no games. He's genuine with you.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the one thing that every single footballer, regardless of country or continent or wherever it is, we all like to know where we stand with the manager. And there is absolutely no doubt under Ancelotti, you know exactly where you stand. And when you know where you stand, you know exactly what you have to do. And so that's why players respond to him, because he tells them, if you do this, then you're going to get trophies, pats on the back, money. If you do that, then you're out the door. And as a player, you can't argue with that, and you respond to it.
Do you remember when Liverpool won the Champions League in Istanbul from, was it 3-0 down?
Yeah.
And apparently, Rafa Benitez had several of the players in afterwards to basically go over how they managed to defend so poorly. And in contrast to that, can you imagine Ancelotti, even when they've got over the line and won a trophy and haven't played well, they've got the job done. He's got the big cigar and the glasses and everything. And, players respond to that.
I bet.
Rather than, that sort of nonsense where you've won the game. You're having a head teacher debrief right after it.
Yeah.
And that kind of wears on players. Not that Benitez is a bad manager. He's not. He's had a lot of success. But that eventually wears on your players. Whereas Ancelotti, he's timeless, isn't he? Because whether it's a youngster or a more experienced player, he can work with them all.
Played one game.
Yeah. There you are. Took us a long time to come up with this. Front page says the best. This is what Vinicius Jr had to say about picking up the award. Today I write to the child who has seen so many idols lift that trophy. His time has come, or rather my time has come. The time to say, yes, I am the best player in the world and I have fought hard for it. They have tried to invalidate me, to diminish me, but they are not ready. No one is going to tell me who I should fight for, how I should behave. I won for myself, for my family, the people who accompany me every day in my routine, those who admire me, the best player in the world.
Why can't players just accept this with the, I don't know, a bit more grace, rather than fixing a bayonet and sort of getting in a battle with? We all know that him and others, particularly in Spain, have had a lot of stuff to deal with, particularly on the racial front, which is, you cannot condone it. It's ridiculous. But it just feels that he's fighting a battle there, rather than just, accepting it. And I don't understand why some of the players feel the need that the world's against them, these kind of statements. It's kind of weird.
Is this fueled by what happened in the Ballon d'Or, Alex?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a very kind of pointed reference to the Ballon d'Or, the feeling from Vinicius and from his camp, whether you buy it or not, similar to Real Madrid's take, which they felt it was a bit of a sort of a UEFA conspiracy or whatever. He felt like, for whatever reason, everyone's kind of out to get him. I do think that for a player like him, I think he thrives on it, though. I think he almost needs this feeling that everything's against him, and a lot of things are against him. Not everything, but a lot of things are. I think that helps him as a player to be a better player. I think, like I said, I think he really thrives on that. That drives him. I think, to be a better player. The sort of the thought that he's got to overcome so many obstacles. Of course, he has overcome so many obstacles in his life to get to where he is today, considering where he comes from. But yeah, I think he thrives on that. But there's no doubt that statement was an oblique reference, but a reference to the Ballon d'Or and what happened. And he will feel like now, okay, justice has been done with the best, even if it wasn't with the Ballon d'Or.
I understand that drive. We saw it with Ronaldo and Messi, each wanting to beat each other, and it actually worked out for them both, because you could argue it made them both better. But the problem is that sometimes that drive comes across in something that hinders Vinicius Jr. You just feel the arguing with the referees, the world is against you. Is that fair? Or is that drive a good thing to have?
Everybody's different, and everybody thrives on different things, and everybody's drives comes from different places. And there's nothing wrong with that. And does he go overboard sometimes? Yes. And we certainly point it out. But there's one thing that will never change. You do not go around telling anybody you're the best player in the world at any stage at all. I don't care how many Ballon d'Ors they pass to you. It's not your place to tell everybody how good you are.
Ronaldo did it all the time,
absolutely going over the score.
But Cristiano Ronaldo did it all the time.
Ronaldo did not come out and talk in that sort of language of saying that this is to shut everybody up. I told you I should have won the Ballon d'Or. I told you I'm the best. I am the best. Look at me, I'm the best. I mean, if you're a Real Madrid fan or you're a bootlicker or whatever you are, real football people are looking at that and shaking their head. I mean, did you ever see Pelé doing that, or any of the greats?
Cristiano Ronaldo did it all the time.
What gets me is a little bit. There seems to be a little inclination. There was a divine right that he was going to win it.
Right.
And you know, we've had this conversation. Most of us don't really care, but the players do. A lot of these players do. But it's not like they've given it to some dauber just to rub his face in it. Rodri was amazing. Amazing. For club and country. Which, you have to say, Vinicius has not been. For club and country. Right? For club. So, it's arguable. So, I don't get the feeling that it seems to be coming from his camp and himself that it was, just an automatic turn up, in France. Pick the trophy up because nobody else is close to me. It wasn't like that. People have opinions, whether we agree with them or not. And
maybe. I think what we've learned tonight, like we've probably learned since match day one, and it's been pretty obvious that Arsenal can't play and can't win without Ødegaard and Bukayo Saka. I felt that for a while. I've watched them many a time this season. I've covered their Champions League games, and if you stop Saka on that right-hand side and you stop Merton Ødegaard, who sort of leans towards the right side, he's a brilliant passer to the ball. He got 2 assists when he came on. If you stop them two, that's more or less you're stopping Arsenal. I thought Crystal Palace were game tonight. I thought they were very good. They're in good form. But it took the big guns to come off the bench. So I think you're right. You nailed it. Everyone that's won tonight, I think you'd expect to win.
Havertz.
I'm not going down the Havertz rabbit hole, but I said to Stevie when we were walking down to the studio, they're playing Palace again at the weekend.
Right.
Will he play Gabriel Jesus or will Havertz come back in? And he said Havertz will come back in.
Havertz will come back.
So he may, I don't know. But Jesus can do no more. Goes in, against a rugged, well-organised Palace side who defended really well for 45 minutes. And Arsenal were not creative at all. And I'm sure Arteta didn't want to go to the bench as early as he did at half-time. But he felt that he had to because they were trailing. And the whole tempo of the game just turned on its head. The quickness of Arsenal's passing, the incisiveness of the passing, then Saka comes on and they just looked, such a different side. Kieran Tierney got an hour or so down the left-hand side and whipped a couple of decent balls in. They need to keep him fit because when Calafiore's out, that's a position that they need to cover. And Zinchenko and Kivior, I think, would be behind Tierney when he was fit. So a couple of really good things for Arsenal in terms of the result and some players getting some fitness. But go back to Don's point, where they struggled in the last couple of games is Ødegaard and Saka work closely together on that side. And when you congregate in that area and overload it in a defensive thing, then you have to switch the play. And they've not been getting enough from the other side, the left-hand side. And so it has become a little predictable down that right side, playing all these little 1-2s. And it's something they're going to have to figure out because obviously, you know, who are the teams looking at the most? They're looking at Saka, they're looking at Odegaard if you stop them. So whether it's Trossard or Martinelli or whoever it is, they're going to have to get a lot more in the Premier League games from the left-hand side of the pitch.
The boys brought up an interesting point. It's Crystal Palace this weekend against Arsenal, once again. Does the fact that Jesus has done that against your defence once make a difference in team selection going into this weekend's time?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I think there's no question that Arteta will have told Havertz that, you know what, I'm starting him tonight.
Should
I'm going to give
should
you
it should it affect you as a coach?
Listen, when you need goals and somebody scores a hat-trick, from experience, the person who's just put the ball in the back of the net is on a different level mentality-wise from a guy who's struggling in front of goal. But, as I said, I'll be absolutely shocked if he hasn't already told him, look, I'm resting you. And regardless of whether he got 3, 4 or 5, I'm willing to put money on that Havertz starts at the weekend.
I think that's a bad move from a manager, though, to say, I'm giving Gabriel Jesus a game, I'm giving you a rest. He hasn't been playing great, Havertz. I mean, I don't want to go over it. But he's played a lot of games, I'll give you that. But I think it's a mistake to say, I'm giving him a game and you'll play at the weekend. Because then you're putting yourself in a position, rather than saying, just saying to him, look, I'm giving Gabriel Jesus a run out. He needs some game time, and leave it at that.
And you know how it happens. He'll go, I'm just giving you a rest, which basically means what I just said. He probably hasn't had he hasn't come out with that statement of you're definitely playing, but Havertz absolutely 100%. If he doesn't start at the weekend, he's the first guy at the door going, hold on a second, you told me you were giving me a rest. And then now he's got a problem in his hand. So I just don't see any way how he plays Jesus.
Don?
Interesting that Stevie said Havertz would knock at the door. If I was Jesus tonight, I would have made sure I said to Nicol Arteta, I better be playing at the weekend, by the way. Because then you sow the seed in the manager where you've actually scored a hat-trick, you've played well, you've contributed, you've won the game, and you dare not start someone else over me because what more can I do? So I think if Jesus is smart, I think when he leaves or even when he's at the ground tonight, I think he pulls the manager just to one side, a quiet little word, and say, you better be starting me at the weekend because it might just sway it.
I don't understand that, Don. Because surely a manager doesn't need a player to tell you that he wants to start.
No, he doesn't. But no, well, you're correct. But if you're Jesus and you just bagged the hat-trick, you can remind the manager on. I mean, you can just say to him a quiet word, listen, I've scored a hat-trick tonight. There's not much more I can do. If you're judging me and Havertz fairly and fair and squarely, and it's all about who's going to be playing at the weekend, all right, it's away from home, so it might be a trickier fixture to call which one you play. But if you're Jesus and you start the game tonight and you score 3, then you'd like to think as a player you can't do any more than score a hat-trick tonight to put yourself in the manager's contention for the weekend. You can't do any more.
See, there's 2 things there. I'm 100% with Don on the fact that when you've just scored a hat-trick, you absolutely go to the manager and go, hey, by the way, I'm just reminding you I scored a hat-trick tonight.
Yeah, and he goes, I know, I watched the game.
And that's fine. But we all know there are unwritten rules, right? And we all know that it's the League Cup. And it makes a difference. If this is a Premier League game, this, in my opinion, changes it. But we all know as players, if you're not playing and you get a game in the League Cup, and even though you play well, you're pretty certain you're not starting at the weekend. Right. And there's a reason. You started today because it was a League Cup. So,
yeah, but it's not like... But I don't know, because... I mean, come on. We have a guy that's come in here, an international footballer. He scored a hat-trick. He's played really well. And we have a guy on the other side of the fence who's... And let's be honest, he's not playing well. He's not scoring goals. He's not a threat. It shouldn't be a difficult decision.
Liverpool are through then to the semi-finals. The draw will be tomorrow, by the way. Stevie, obviously you keep an eye on this. What did we learn today?
Nothing.
No. No. Okay. Don, did you learn anything?
No.
Not really. I thought it was a good performance. I thought Endo played really well. I thought Trainioni, the young kid at 17, done well. But it's the conversation you've just had, you know, about the Arsenal players who start, Jesus, Havertz at the weekend. There's probably only 3 of them Liverpool players tonight who played tonight, who started, that probably play at the weekend. It'll probably be Alexander-Arnold, Joe Gomez, Gakpo or McAllister, so tops 4. So it was a job for the young kids tonight. But what you need when all eyes are on the young kids, Morton played well in midfield. what you need when all the eyes are on the young kids is you need your experienced players to play well. And Endo played at the back, which is different for him. I thought he played really well. It was a job done. The game was just too easy for Liverpool. For 45 minutes when they win it 2-0, it was almost like they started passing the ball in the second half. He took Alexander-Arnold off, which was a bit of a gamble because you put more youngsters on. Because all it needs is a freak goal from a Southampton point of view, then the pressure's on. And then he brought Jota on just for a little bit of experience. The only thing I was disappointed in watching Liverpool tonight was Chiesa and Darwin Núñez. Even though Núñez got his goal, which was a bog-standard goal, you can't really miss. I thought in the second half, when the pressure was on, every ball that went into his feet, he'd give away, or every run that he was trying to make running in behind instead of coming short, decision-making was off. And then Chiesa had about 50, I know it's his first game back, but Chiesa had about 15 minutes in the second half when Liverpool really needed him to get a hold of the ball, to take the team further up the pitch. He kept diving on the floor. He was jumping out of tackles. He didn't fancy a 50-50. Maybe that's because he's just come back. But the negatives were, I think, Darwin Núñez and Chiesa, because they never looked like, to me, they're going to break into the first team.